And we are recording on Thursday, July 24th, 2025 at 2:05 p.m. Eastern Time with Mr. Stephen Murray and Mr. Ian Burlingame coming on here to talk. And as I was just telling both of you, no, it doesn't matter how you look. No video matters. None of it matters. Lighting, none of it fucking matters. People listen. The people who are really, I don't know, pushy about the camera angle. You know what? You can start paying me for OnlyFans because I know what you want. You're the only people that are really concerned about my camera, I swear, are older women. I know what you're fucking doing. I know your game, and it's flattering to a degree, but you can pay me. All right, so we'll do that. That'll be another subset. So I wasn't expecting to start the show with prostituting myself, but here we are. And but yeah,
Fitting for the times.
yeah, well, I'm gonna hand it over to you, Ian. You take it. You make sense of whatever dog shit Play-Doh I just gave you.
Oh, well, I don't think I can take that. Steve, what's been on your mind, man? We haven't talked in a while.
Well,
If you
so we
say
should talk.
Epstein, I'm going to send somebody to your house and shoot you.
No, we should talk. We should talk. Well, it's all wrapped together. Come on,
It is
let's
all
face it, it's
kind
all
of a,
wrapped together,
yeah.
right? It's a big blob. But we should talk about the Genius Act. We should talk about,
Oh,
and I'm not a crypto guy, so I'll say this from the aspect of the information warfare guy. But the things I'm watching right now is I kind of have a passive eye on the whole narrative around Obama and treason, and but I don't think that's going anywhere. They look. I'll just cut to the chase. We probably end the show in 10 minutes. First of all, nobody's going to get arrested because everybody that's
No,
on the list there is on the same list over on the other side of the fence that nobody wants to talk about, and at least enough of them to where it'll burn down the system. And EM, you can disagree with me all you want. I fully embrace that actually because you're
I think there's
and I
certainly
also
Venn diagram overlaps, but yeah,
yes,
yeah,
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 yeah. You know
yeah,
exactly where I'm going with that, right?
yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
enough people that are, and Tommy, I'm going to go back to one of the first videos I ever saw of you, where you were talking about um, the realpolitik of the Germans that came over under Operational Paperclip,
backstabbing.
and
Yeah,
and how they were all like that. I'm not a Nazi, but that guy's a Nazi.
yeah.
That's exactly how this will go. Exactly.
Annie
The
Jacobson,
first
Operation
person that's
Paperclip.
arrested will burn down the rest of the system and out everybody for all the other malfeasance, all the money laundering, all the drug trafficking, all the human trafficking, all the crimes that will come out from the first person. And then it's just a domino effect after that
There
until the
ain't no,
system collapses,
there ain't
right?
no, there ain't no loyalty
I
amongst the
was gonna
estrogens.
and let me clarify what I was talking about with about the Operation Paperclip was there's all these super high ranking Nazis, obviously all the Arthur Rudolph, I think not Hess, but von Braun, all them, and it was so like top tier inner circle Nazis, and one by one they're all interviewed, and they're like, hey, you got the wrong guy here. I fucking like rockets. These guys, they were eating Jews with their own teeth,
The
not me. And
middle
then
management.
the
They
next guy would
always
come
burn the
in,
middle management.
next guy would
Yeah.
come in and be like.
Yeah.
I've always just been interested in space, but that motherfucker right there. And then to take it one step further, one by one, when they realized not all of them were going and some of them were getting thrown into like death camps, they started singing more to where one of them was like, he brought him out onto his property and was like, I have some crates of like blueprints that I buried years ago, before it even started going bad. And then all the other Rocky guys, like none of them were judging because they're like, actually, can we make a stop at my house next? They all had fucking shit. Like each of them had their own little crates, and this is the most important part. The crates were not from 1945. They were all from like 40 and 41
Mm-hmm.
when things were still going well. They had all of that. That to me is more
Operation
indicating than everything else. But sorry.
Operation Odessa, which was the movement of Nazi individuals and wealth, etc., was set in motion in 1930 between 1937 and 1939. They knew they would lose the war.
Yeah.
That wasn't the intent. The intent was to cause the war, steal everything they could steal, blame, everything on the Jews, kill as many of the Jews as they could, quite literally to steal as much as they could, and maybe some other more nefarious things that set up the last 80 years. But Operation Odessa, right? Project Odessa. And where is Odessa again, by the way? Fucking Ukraine,
Uh,
I couldn't get it out of my.
right? 1937, 39, they put all that in place. So the war was never meant to be won. What was meant to be done in the war is to kill off millions of young German men. That's what was the intent.
Pull the population. Yeah, that's
That's
exactly
the
what it was.
intent. That's why they're pushing so hard for World War III with the UK and the US. It's to kill off the young men. The theft has already been, so back to the Genius Act bullshit,
What is the
right? And all
Genius
these
Act?
stable coin. Let you talk to
Okay,
Tom
all
about
right,
it.
all right.
Now remember, there's only one
Yeah.
rule. You can't be more bitter than I am. That's the only rule out there.
Ah,
You're
can I
hitting the
swear as
guardrails
much as
hard. You can swear as
yeah,
much as you want. You just can't be more bitter
uh,
than I, because that was my exact response
yeah.
when they still when that announcement came out about the Genius Act. I'm like, and I've been saying on my show for weeks, look, what's going on in the peripherals? Stop paying attention to this noise. It's just noise. Nobody's going to jail. They're not going to release
Oh yeah,
information.
it's distraction.
Nobody's going to get
The
rolled up for anything. Look at what are they doing in the background. It was the Genius Act. It was the Palantir contracts. It was the commissioning of um, Silicon
They,
Valley executives as lieutenant colonels, which by the
yeah,
way pisses me off to no end, because EM and I, we both we both ate shit through the ranks to get to where we were at and to build the proficiency we have. And they swear in these guys, and why? And I have theories on why. So let me, that's a rhetorical question. But the point is, why would they do that? Right. And
because they've
but
already stolen the commons. It's already happened. 2001, 2008, 2020. They've already stolen the commons. The last commons for them to steal is 401ks. And what did they just authorize for fucking investing into cryptocurrencies?
investment
401ks.
houses.
That's the final theft of the commons, all of which gets locked in place with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and gets turned converted into an asset that one has absolutely zero reality whatsoever, and two is irrecoverable.
And they have complete control over.
And
So
they
they
have
can turn
complete
it on, turn it
control.
off.
And
Yep.
it can completely be removed off the shores of this United States, and they can let the United States completely and utterly collapse for the next 80 years, which is what they did in Russia. It's what they did in China. People think they want it to collapse quick. No, they don't care. They've got enough wealth. They can sit on it for a fucking century.
Yep.
But to me, Bitcoin is, and all this push is the final locking in the theft of the commons, stealing of all the assets in the final, step 7 of the financialist kill chain.
I
And
was
people
waiting for you to
really
hit
got to
that.
ask themselves, right? After centuries, after 1,000 years of this financialist system being designed and perfected, have they ever once rolled out anything that was of sufficient, of this level of cleverness that wasn't about stealing from the commons? Ever once? And somehow now, after 1,000 years, they got a fucking conscience?
yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? There's what this is to me, right? Is financialism is a religion. If you look at it, it marries right down to Christianity, principle by principle. And what this is with this Bitcoin thing and related cryptocurrencies, but it's really all around Bitcoin, is the Protestant movement out of the Catholic Church under Martin Luther. It's the same fucking thing. It's it's a hey, we're suddenly fundamentally changing and improving this slaver system for your benefit. Meanwhile, the whole argument, the whole concept is still 100% confined within the reality of the original religion, the financialist religion. And when I listen to people talk about Bitcoin, and these young people who are all over it, they talk like religious zealots. The Mormon kids that show up my house here in Idaho to knock on the door aren't anywhere near as, pious as these guys with their faith, right? It's
Yep.
bullshit made up religion. It's completely 100% an artificial construct. And here's how you trick linguistic monkeys, right? Clever monkeys. You trick clever monkeys with sophisticated magic, words, complex structures. You you articulate things to them in very clever ways in such degree of complexity that even the autists go, wow, that's real.
Hmm.
There's reality to that. See how deep it goes,
Actual
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah.
Actual.
right? And
and create a
then
complex system around it so nobody can define
and a
it.
belief system. And if
Yeah.
you talk about it, like the thing that the next time a Bitcoiner tells me I just don't get it, I'm gonna punch the motherfucker in the face. It's like I had some kid come at me the other day. It's like, well, when you've got 300 hours, like motherfucker, I've been in finance for 30 fucking years. I've been in the guts of all of it, right down to the back end of the digital securities exchanges and how they work, and the electronic communications networks upon which all of that functions, and the algorithm. Man, I've been in all venture capital, private equity. Been in all of it, in the guts of all of it, right? Not just the deal guy out on the outside. So don't come and tell me about how smart you are and how knowledgeable you are about how finance really works. Go ahead.
My
So,
issue with
mhm.
with crypto, and this, it draws fire every time I say it. It's ones and zeros. It's like online content.
Well,
It's
I'm
like
not
online
opposed to
music.
that. I'm not opposed
I
to that.
I
What I
am
am
to a
opposed,
certain extent because I'm going to follow your logic for a second, right?
Mhm.
This is part of the reason why I want to have this conversation, Damon. Is this because this is bigger than just the religion of finance, the religion of the state. It's the control grid that they're putting in place at the same time with AI that has no guardrails and no ethics around it. All of those, none of those things are good for us, right?
I
You're
don't
spot
disagree
on.
with that. It's also
They don't.
bullshit.
It
Yeah.
is. It's going to fail, and it will
Yes.
fail for a variety of reasons. The piece that I'm more interested in is how does it fail, and what does that look like
Yeah.
when it does fail, and
Totally agree.
how do we
Totally
recover
agree.
from it, right? Because most of these people, let's face it, the people that are looting the bank right now, they're not going to be alive on the other side of this to be held accountable for it. Let's just face it. When this finally collapses, and it
They
will,
don't
because it's a
care.
house of cards. No, they
They don't
don't. But
care.
no, you're right. You're right. They don't care. But my point of saying that is that even if we get to the other side of this without too much collateral damage, there still has to be a new system that's built out of this. And what does that system look like, right? And all of those pieces matter because you're right. They're looting the bank vault right now for the last of the safety deposit boxes. That's
Well,
literally
it's the
where they're at.
401. Yeah, I mean, a physical
Same thing.
metaphor, but it's
Yeah.
taking, the largest transition of wealth in human history is happening with the transition from the boomers and the older Xers. The largest transition of wealth in history. Do you think these motherfuckers haven't figured out 20 years ago how to steal that,
Oh yeah.
right? And how to
Yeah.
lock it in? And now I wrote an article here is the UAE the new city of London? Because it sure looks like if you look at the legal protections for banking, if you look at the offshore wealth structures right, and the way in which these financialists work is just before step 7 of the collapse, they abandon the host to a new locale that has the young men that can go, the young men in sufficient numbers, violently motivated enough in sufficient numbers to be their bully boars in their armies and their terrorists, just like they use the English speaking people since the 1600s till there are no more of us. To such a degree, they're flooding our countries with foreigners because we have so few sons left to fight or with the willingness or desire to fight. We're done. They can't, and we're not done because we're bankrupt, et cetera. They'd figure out ways to reset that, et cetera. We're done because we don't have the fighting age males anymore that they need to bully the world.
Yeah.
Or the
The
willingness.
They
Islamic
squandered.
world does. China said no. So they're not going to get those. And they were counting on that excess 75, 85 million men, counting hard. And China said, no, you're not doing this here. And they elevated Xi to be the Red Caesar, and he's doing it. Russia said no. And the Russian people said no. And they elevated Putin, and he's been the Red Caesar for a while. Persians said no. Central Asians, Persians said no. Turkey doesn't have the capacity. They got a good army, but one major war and Turkey's powerless. Let's not discredit the Turks though and their ability to fight and all of that, but there's just not enough of them, and there isn't people around the world that will, the English speaking peoples all told with the British Isles, the Commonwealth, et cetera, is several hundreds of millions of people, right? So the only populace they have, because Africa is not unified enough, they're never going to be able to unify Africa enough, and they don't have and Africa is huge. I mean, truly huge. People need to get away from the Mercator map and go
Yeah,
look
no,
at
actually,
countries,
it's
right?
retarded.
It's like freaking huge. And really is like three separate continents in the way, geography and all of that. So that's not going to happen. So where's the only analog, where's the next host that they can go that's got tens of millions of excess angry young men?
Robotics?
The Islamic world.
Yeah.
And they just spent the last 25, 27 years, starting with the quote unquote global war on terror, doing the hostile
Radicalizing.
takeover of all the Islamic world. We now own and control all of the terrorist and criminal organizations, which we're now using to take down countries like Syria, to go fight in the Ukraine and plus up the Ukrainian army, to threaten us here in the United States through folks like Sarah Adams, etc. So when we look historically, right, Venice to Amsterdam, when the Dutch were, when there wasn't enough Dutch young men to fight in Europe anymore, they jumped to the British Isles. When there wasn't enough British men, Englishmen to fight anymore, they jumped to the United States. Now they don't have it here anymore. Where do they go? China said no. There's nowhere else in Asia. Africa's not a possibility. Russia said no. Central Asia's, the Persians and the Central Asians said no, and they just don't have the capacity. Anyways, the only place to go is UAE and control of the Middle East. And if we look historically, all the patterns are there, but they got to do the final heist and get the assets into some kind of wagons of gold that they can move over to the new headquarters. Well, Bitcoin sure makes that possible. And all of this related and cryptocurrencies, right? Stable coins, et cetera, sure makes all of that wealth transfer overseas real easy without the need for warships to move your gold, without the need for armies to possess the physical assets you still have here, land and businesses, et cetera. To me, it's all the theft, the ultimate theft of the commons. Set everybody up, get your zealot believers, do all these contracts that equate to stable coin or something else, Bitcoin, and then abandon the host. Let it collapse. Let it rot for 80 years, 100 years, which, South Africanized. That's what they're doing in South Africa. It's
Oh,
exactly what they're
absolutely.
doing,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
They're just waiting for it
absolutely.
to totally and absolutely collapse. And then they come in and they buy the assets for nothing. Or they don't even buy the assets for nothing. They just restate their original claims that are still captured, contractually somewhere in London or somewhere else.
The only problem with that, first of all, I agree with all of that because that's exactly how it's played out in both Pawns in the Game, and there's several of the books that play out that scenario. The the only piece that I think is missing here is the one piece they had in the Western world that they don't have in the Arab world is loyalty and adherence to the rule of law. It's a totally different
Oh,
environment
yes,
over
they
there.
do. Oh, yes, they do. All they got to do
To
is
Sharia law,
modify
yes.
some of the, yeah, exactly.
I know where you're going with that.
I worked in Sukuk finance decade and a half ago, more than that, almost 20 years ago. I worked in Sukuk finance. They already got it. And that's already in Malaysia and southern Thailand and southern Philippines and all
Well,
over the Islamic
Asia's a
world.
bit different, right? So,
Mhm.
and this is a very interesting point because Asia's different, right? Because those societies have been docile and they've been literally trained to be docile for almost 100 years, over 100 years,
Oh, longer than
right?
that. Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
Japan. Japan is literally probably the most peaceful and the most crime-free planet. But it's because since World War II, even before, they've been trained to this very strict hierarchy and this very strict code of conduct, right? And my interaction in the Arab world, forms a microcosm to other people. However, one of the things I did notice there was that as they locked down more and more with Sharia law, the more people just closed their doors and ignored the laws. And that's the difference, right? That's the place we'll get. This is
Well,
where I'm going, is this is where it will fail. Is that they will reach a tipping point where the laws, they can't do the same slow burn they're doing here.
no, no, no. Okay. So Steve, completely understand what you're saying, but we also have to go back to the last time they took over a major host, and that was what would become the United Kingdom, the English speaking peoples. And what was the conditions in state there, the conflicts and religious wars and other things going on. What they'll do, and we're already seeing it in Saudi Arabia and elsewhere, is they will start backing away from Sharia law in social mores and social standards, exactly as they did in the Christian world. And they will gut and destroy the Islamic world over the next couple of centuries, exactly as they did the Christian world.
Okay, good. That's a fair point. That's exact. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, what they'll do is they'll transition to where your success in Islamic society is not based off your adherence to Sharia law, but Sharia finance. It's exactly what they did in the Christian world, where your status was no longer based off of your adherence to Christian principles, more monarchy, right, with Christian principles engaged, but the monarchical systems and more dependent on the financial systems, which then steadily supplanted monarchical systems and Christianity. But
That's a
they'll keep Islam itself because you can stir up the us versus them religious zealotry to go kill and murder, etc., way more than you can, at least for now. Over the last almost basically over the last 70, 80 years, we've done most of our killing in the name of money, not at all in the name of Christianity or America or anything else. So they'll get the Islamic world there, but they've got a 2 century, 2.5 century, maybe 3 century runway in the Islamic world. And the only way we survive is we do what fucking Russia did, and we elevate a Red Caesar. We do what China did, we elevate a Red Caesar. We do what Persia did with the Ayatollahs, and we elevate a Red Caesar, or we allow one to rise up. But these people don't, in the modern world, they don't raise themselves up. And they didn't even in the days of Red Caesar. Caesar Julius did not elevate himself. He came across the Rubicon at the invitation of senators, nobles, business people, etc., who are like, put an end to this civil war and this raping of our economy and our peoples by this small Praetorian, this small oligarchy group.
Yeah,
And how do you lock in, right? Because you can't take all of the wealth of the United States and put it on ships and move it to the Middle East, to the Islamic world. So what do? You tokenize it.
Yep.
You tokenize it, and you
then you just
tokenize
hand it off.
absolutely everything you can.
Yeah. Which is exactly what they're doing.
Which is exactly what they're fucking
all
doing.
The resources, with all the national parks, being opened up for mining, with all the investment now, the capex that's coming into the country, all of that's designed to hand the resources off to other countries, because it's all foreign investment.
Well, to this small financialist, and it's not, people keep looking at families, et cetera. Yes, some families do this well and participate, but it's to this ancient Praetorian system. These fuckers learned how to do this extraordinarily well in Rome. It took a Red Caesar then, who was actually a Caesar, Constantine, to go crush these fuckers in battle. But it took over a century to, get them all together, draw them together, let them collapse, let them show themselves, all this complex maneuvering to get Constantine and the Eastern court into a securable, protected place and status with loyal people that they knew were going to be loyal, and then go do war on the Western kingdom, knowing that that was going to set the Western capital, Rome itself, up for failure, and that you had to let Rome fail because it was the only way. Impoverishment and the threat of, violence from, very real violence from the Vandals and others was the only way to prevent, to burn out the Praetorians that had been for 300 years in total and absolute control of everything.
And that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
It's exactly
is the stepping stones for that to happen.
So, yes.
And the other piece of this too that I think it bears mentioning is this is the part where the Western world always falls on its face. This is where all of the pundits that have done all the analysis, the Whitney Webbs and everybody else, fall apart. They don't tie it all back together into the long game. and how the long game's played, right? That's one of the
Yes.
points I
Yes.
wanted you to make today was the long
Yeah.
game, right? So when you get
Well,
away
and they
from the
also think it's all about control, control, control. No, it's about theft and the
well, it's
ability to get away with your theft.
right, convince the public that it's in their best interest. Like we're literally celebrating right now that they're destroying the Constitution and that this new Caesar that's in place is helping and making the country more safe when really all he's doing is he's looting the rest of the bank vault and
I
he's
don't
setting
know that
conditions
that's
for that to
true,
happen.
actually. I'm going to differ with you there, Steve.
But go ahead.
Um,
I don't see anything coming out of this administration that benefits
oh,
the
I'm
US
seeing
and
all
English.
kinds of extraordinary stuff coming out here. So what we got to do is Americans have got to take a step back and really look at Russia from late 1990s, mid 1990s into about 2010s. We've got to look at China from the mid 2000s into really about 5 years, about 2018, 2020. Because if there was nothing to say that Putin was going to be successful at getting rid of the Russian power and the Russian peoples, because it wasn't just one man, were going to be able to get this Praetorian system out of their own country. There was nothing that said for a good 10 years or so that that was going to happen and that it would stick. Same thing in China, and we're just 2017, 2019, maybe in that kind of time frames where we realized, no, this Xi guy's good and he's very much supported and he's getting rid of us. So we better use the Islamic potential threat vector through the Uyghurs, right? So
Keep going. I know
there,
where you're going with this, so keep
what
going.
we got to do, look at the United States right now is go, okay, what's happening right now is we are trying to purge these Praetorians from our system. But they tried to shoot the guy on live TV, and they made sure they had the right cameraman there, and so much collusion from you know what I mean? So it's like we're in that stage right now where we don't know if the Caesar's going to be able to do Caesar shit or they're just going to off him and we're all going to fail. And this is going to go hard fucking communist or something
I don't
or
disagree with
or
any of that.
Nazi,
I know exactly where you're going with that. I don't
right?
disagree with that.
So
Yeah.
right? So, people keep going, well, trust the plan. Motherfucker, there ain't been a plan for days now. It's like the first, uh, no plan survives first contact
Yeah.
with the enemy. Okay, the first 100 days were the contact with the enemy. We're not plan stage anymore. We're in fucking fight. Move, counter move, deception, counter deception, move, get rid of that asset, burn that asset, call that, ooh, fuck, that guy's a traitor. You know what I mean? We're now in the war and it's a fucking war. And we don't know, and to your point, right, to your concern, we don't know how that's going to go yet. And we
And we
need to
don't.
not underestimate our enemies, none of which are overseas, every one of which are walking around. So people keep saying, what does Chuck Schumer have on Donald Trump? You know what Chuck Schumer has on Donald Trump? Congress formally declaring war on Russia and China. That's what he has on Trump, is that threat.
Yeah.
And if you don't
I
go
think there's more
along
to it, but that's that. Yeah, you're
for
right. You're
all,
right over target because that is, for lack of a better word, the trump card because
that's the
Congress
Trump
can
card.
overrule
What's
can
the other
overrule.
one?
And
Trump.
we wait. Let's frame this because this is very very important.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the two differences that we're talking about coincide in the same place, and that is Congress does not represent the people. These are
No.
privately owned individuals in
Yes.
public office
Yeah.
that have no allegiance to this country.
Yes.
I don't care what
Yep.
comes out of their mouth. I
Yep.
don't care what they publish on
They're
Twitter.
prostitutes. They're
Yes,
just prostitutes. They're the
yes,
hired help. They're call girls. Some of them
right.
are pretty. Most of them aren't.
But your point is well made that is the card that's being held over his head.
That's
Lindsey
exactly what it is.
Graham, and it
Yes.
crosses the aisle.
Blumenthal. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Please keep going
when
because I
he
know
said,
I know
when
where you're going
he's
with that. I was going
okay,
somewhere else, so I
when
know where you're
Graham
going.
said that he had enough votes for the second round, the super sanctions against Russia, what did he mean? He didn't mean sanctions. He meant a declaration of war. So back, okay, you're going to send somebody to my house now because I'm going to mention Epstein. All right. What was being set up by Steve Cohen, Robert Maxwell, carried on by Ghislaine and Jeffrey, was the infrastructure for the money laundering for all the people necessary for the great theft of the commons over the last 40 years, all the way up to today. And all of that infrastructure was put in place of how people get paid right up to the congressionals and people in the agency and all, middle level functionaries and people we don't even know of, right? Trillions of dollars of money laundering in all kinds of sophisticated structures. Think Panama Papers, but times 10, right? In terms of sophistication and complexity. Once all that infrastructure was in place and enough world leaders were in place and enough things were already in motion, they burned both of them. Why? To cover what they'd actually done. Let's go
Yeah,
all look over this horrible shit that we do need to address, but that's covered, so we're not paying attention to all of it. So point being is that Graham, when he said he has enough votes for this super sanctions against Russia, what he meant is he actually has enough people that have been bought off in enough places, including the people who will lie with the intelligence reports, et cetera, to get Congress to formally declare war.
agree,
Period.
agree.
And why did they
And
come out with this Epstein stuff here, which I almost guarantee you was not Trump or anybody around them, was to throw, because what Trump is doing is he is dismantling World War III infrastructure around the world that's been put in place steadily over the last 30, 40 years. We're burning up stockpiles, manpower. We're drawing covert and clandestine operations and networks right out into the open. Pretty clever. We're not in World War III yet. And he's been doing it with the ever present threat of being shot and his family being shot or blown up by somebody on the inside because they're
well,
either
they've already
ideologically aligned or they're compromised because their family's being held hostage.
right. And where I started going, which you're getting back to, is that in the background they're building all of this control grid, all of the social scoring system,
Yeah,
all
but
of
that's
these technical controls, etc. Right? I mean, just go
but
to the
it's all
grocery
smoke and
store.
mirrors. They don't mean any of that.
I think they do.
Oh, they
I
don't mean
really
it.
think they do.
No, it's just like the cover for action and status using the pedophilia. This control grid is another cover for action and status. Meanwhile, they're stealing all of your assets.
Uh,
Meanwhile, they're putting
okay,
in
I'll give you.
place,
I'm going to let you go with this because I know now. I know where you're going.
okay,
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
underneath all of, so you've got people that you can get caught up in the, pedophilia stuff and chasing that, paying attention to that, who get righteously indignant and disgusted about that. And there's a lot of people though that are so removed from that, it's just not going to connect with them. It's like most people can't believe that stuff's even real. You got another group of people though that you got to distract, the clever little borderline autist types like Whitney Webb and others, John Cullen, right? And what do you got? Not to pick on John, right? But you've got the other
No, he's a
highly
bit focused.
detailed,
Yeah,
right,
John's a bit
super
focused.
detailed oriented people, and you got to get them focused on something that gets their disgust up because it's something they can actually see as real, right? Because it's connected enough in their world, and you get them chasing over all of that, right? We tried to put, we are the ones who did, I know a certain family, which I won't say, who I know directly were the ones who built the social credit system for China and their American family. Okay. And it failed. There is no social credit system. Now, there is in certain places and ways, and the Chinese government is rooting it out as quick as they can. But it was so woven into payment structures and the techno, the WeChats and the Alibabas and all that other kind of stuff that they're slowly having to parse that out without crashing the Chinese economy and without letting without getting a revolution going in their own country. So all that social control stuff, they don't care about that. That's another way to get other smart people into a place of disgust to go fight all of that. Meanwhile, they are actively stealing everybody's fucking assets. They are tokenizing everything so they can lock that steal in. So even if this all goes to blood, I can't go take my assets back.
Oh, it will. It's designed to go there, right? I think that
Well, that
to
okay,
your
so that's
point,
the point. No,
let's stay on your point though, because I agree with
uh,
you,
yeah.
right? I'm having a hard time buying into all of it because of the stuff I know on the other end and what we did
Well, no, no, lots
from.
of people believe it, and there's lots of money and effort, but the
But
ones
I'm
who are
going
really
with you because
behind
I think
everything,
you're.
yeah,
I hate to
yeah,
say it, but I think you're right.
yeah,
And Tommy, you can replay this a few times of me saying that
yeah.
because the the hard part in all this too, even for a guy like me, is seeing the bigger global picture. And you're right. I think the ultimate kinetic out of this is the final distraction, right? You get everybody wrapped up in revolution
Correct,
while you're consolidating power in the new location, and
correct,
they're so
correct,
attrited and out of resources, et cetera. It's why they're burning all our
correct,
war stocks. It's why they're burning
correct.
down the entire firearms
So
industry
we
right now.
can't go into the Islamic world and rip
Right,
them fucking out of there by force.
right. And let me go a step further because if you look at what they're doing right now in the firearms industry, how many ammunition manufacturers in this country have either been sold to an overseas company or have gone out of business? Ammo
Or
Inc.,
some
one of the biggest
there's
companies in the US making ammo, defunct. Two other ammo companies were sold off in the last 2 years. So they're slowly taking apart the apparatus
our
of
ability.
that's where I was going.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
where I
yeah,
started going
yeah.
originally, was that a lot of the moves that Trump's made to tokenize things are not good for the American people or for the Western Hemisphere.
He knows
And one of
that.
the key,
He knows
what,
that. But we can prevent the final theft. So you can't, when you're fighting a war on every front, internally and externally, with very capable enemies who've been preparing for this war on all these fronts for 40 years, 2 generations, a generation and a half, and they are fully committed to it. And they've got anybody who could be a voice, to a real power voice, to say no, they've either got under control or they've already killed. And oh, by the way, a lot of people have died. Thousands of people have been killed since 2020.
yep. And let me
Middle
ask you a
level,
question while
yeah,
you're there, because
yeah,
this is a very, very good transition point. You're an AI guy, right? I'm
yeah.
an immigrant to AI. I'm still trying to figure it out. What do you think their use of AI is in all this? Because all the
It's a
just the
it's a
volume of
scam.
planning you're talking about.
No, no, they don't use it there. It's a scam. AI is a
Okay,
total scam. It's another theft to the commons. How many trillions of dollars are in valuation on the stock markets are in AI companies? It's all a
Video.
scam.
Yeah.
I'm
The
looking at it
the
from this
and you got
perspective
to
of
ask
decision
yourself,
making, right? Decision making,
no,
because
they're
they're
not using
most.
it at all. They tried early on. We were trying to use it back in early 2010s, and it was failing so bad it was getting people killed. No, it doesn't work for that. It's
Interesting.
people have got to ask themselves, why is the first rollout of AI, large language models? Why is it large language models? Because people are stupid. They believe words have meaning. Words are just symbols. They're meaningless symbolic systems. It's like mathematics. The people who chase math, like math has reality. Motherfucker, it's just, to your point, ones
Numbers.
and zeros.
Yeah.
Math's just an
Ones and
infinite
zeros.
line of
Yeah.
digits with some symbols that put them together and it means nothing, right? This is why we're so off on physics, etc. But point being is that the reason they did LLMs, and I've written several pieces on this, right, is not because there's any cognition or cognitive computation in there. It's because they don't need it to be. They just need you to believe it. And how do you get humans to believe it? You create images, also why they put so much money into the AI image generation, and you use words. Why? Because we're linguistic monkeys and we translate every internal and external signal into words. All they've got to do is focus on tricking you through words and clever images, and they own you. AI is an artificial, total, absolute illusion. So is
Well, they can't
quantum
monetize it, right?
so
So
is
I agree
quant
with you there.
well,
They
it's not
can't
just that,
monetize
it
it.
just doesn't work. And the other
Well,
is quantum computing. We don't
you
have
can make the
quantum
case.
computing. Mhm.
I don't disagree with that. You could make the case either way, right? Because I know, look, I spent all morning talking about how,
You can
listening to
have
people talk
expert
about how great
systems.
AI is, right?
You can have
Yes,
expert systems. We had expert systems and knowledge systems 20 years ago. It takes a ludicrous amount of time and energy and effort and superior pre-knowledge to be able to train a knowledge system.
Could it just be a
A,
theft of power? I mean, like legit, literal electricity, because you see that's what Operation Stargate was just removing the red tape to have for private companies to have access to nuclear power plants.
I
Just,
think so. I want to
well,
stay.
I mean, it's
That's a
hydraulic
good.
despotism. If you don't adhere to the company or the
just
party line, then they turn your power off. That's
It's a
okay.
good. It's a good question, but I wanted to stay on something that
sorry.
EM's talking about, right? Because I think this is one of those. There's a perception, and this goes back to my ones and zero comment, right? There's a perception across the entire industry right now, not just tech, that AI is going to revolutionize the world and solve all these problems and automate all these things and do away with all these jobs. And and I know that I'm just going to say algorithms because that's the only way to say it. That's not AI. There's algorithms out there that were used years ago that were very good at predicting different outcomes in different scenarios, right? Not good at operations. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. That's all I'm going to say about that. But when it came to predictive outcomes, it was very good at that based on these non-hierarchical, non-relational databases that they tapped into that were able to be mined in a certain way. But there's a perception that all these things are going to happen, and a perception that AI is going to be monetized, and a perception that AI is going to revolutionize and drive all these different things. And if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is the elite have already done this enormous amount of planning to figure out how to put all these things in motion. And it really is a script that they have that they can replay over and over and over again with different scenarios. Then humanity falls for it every time. I mean, it literally is what I just heard you say.
That's exactly what it is.
But here's the part that I get stuck on.
Sorry, it's the Joseph Campbell hero's journey of tyranny. They just fucking roll it out every century, millennia. Sorry, keep
Well,
going.
And
what
we
kills
fall
me about
for it
that
over
is
and
that,
over again. Yeah.
Good story.
Mhm.
and this is where I get
It's
stuck,
got to get
right?
more complex, by the way, right? The story's got to get more complex. But yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
No. That's
Yeah.
where I was going with it, right?
Yeah.
As we get
Yeah.
generationally, as we get more advanced, the story gets more complex, the environment
Yeah.
gets more complex.
Yeah.
That planning and that execution becomes extremely hard to pull off. And knowing that over generations, right, your family tree either gets dumber or it gets more dispersed, that to keep that level of orchestration within a bloodline is extremely hard.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
why it's not in bloodlines. That very, very good, Steve. That's why people keep saying, well, tell me what family. It's like, it's not how it works. It's in structures. It's in systems. It's right. It's like the book I wrote, The Eternal War. It's it's resentfuls, and resentfuls are always with us. They're at least 30. The resentfuls themselves are about 30% of the population. They know each other. They function in very similar ways. And if they don't take each other out, then they're collaborating. And they don't need structures or systems. They
it's a marriage of convenience. Yeah,
guys like us who
exactly.
have informational training, right? Or anybody who's been an interrogator or even a really good negotiator can very quickly pick up manipulative language in somebody else. And they don't even have to be talking to us. They can be talking to somebody else and it'll be like, oh, that person's, using these three logical fallacies in this way and this body posture and tone, and they're trying to manipulate that person. I don't even may not even know why or what it's about, but you can pick that up. Well, so do the resentfuls. They pick this behavior between one another, and then they do a quick assessment. Is this in my advantage to help this other resentful, or is it not? And if it's not, how do I turn this to my advantage by turning against that resentful or
Yeah.
manipulating that, right? And then,
Always
they're
looking for the end
they're
game. Yeah.
adoptables. And it blows my mind, how little people think about this. And when I look at the output of most of the AI, it's either childish or it's manipulative. It's literally resentful's linguistic constructs.
Oh, dude, that or open
You don't
AI. That is the most insidious fucking
Oh,
thing
that's
I have ever
resentfuls.
seen in my
That's
life.
the resentfuls
That
engine.
that fucking thing without any guardrails is dangerous.
Well, but it's only dangerous in one way. So so I suspect something, right? I suspect we're getting to a place that they are forcing something by moving too aggressively too quickly. That they are moving to a place where humanity is starting to wake up to the surreality, the artificiality of words, which is something, by the way, Buddha taught 2,700 years ago, right? 2,800 years ago. With, and then the Zen Buddhists and the Chahans picked up with koans, etc. But what I suspect is happening is they are accelerating us to a place, because I can see it just in the last year in social media, maybe 2 years. All these people that were all manipulative and all this other kind of stuff are trying to draw away, drop away, and people are not buying it as much and they're not falling for it. And we've even moved beyond the Fed boy kind of stage where we're like, a large number of people now are like, that's bullshit. And so I think there's a fundamental problem. I don't think, I believe very strongly. Resentfuls have a fundamental weakness. Again, it's in the book, The Eternal War. And that fundamental weakness is they don't understand real strength. They don't understand actual intelligence and how adaptive it is and how rapidly adaptive. And this is a conversation I had here recently with somebody. I think it was with you, Tommy. But 9 times out of 10, a clever person will win in an argument or in a machination because 3 or 4 times the responsible can't see it. It takes some time maybe to see it's clever, it's sophisticated. The other times the resentful sees it, but they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on with this person. Where am I? What did I do? How did I sit? What's my role in this? How did I play this? Or wow, what's going on here? This is just crazy. But there's 1 time out of 10 where the intelligent person is like, shut the fuck up. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of my face before I put 2 rounds in your goddamn face and then go end your bloodline. And they're rapidly pushing us to that place. Now, unfortunately, what happens then is 20, 30% of people that get put down probably shouldn't have got put down because they were actually legit. But we're getting to a place to where it's like people are really beginning to understand that we need to stop falling for the magic of words.
Ram Dass, a finger pointing at the moon, saying moon is enlightenment and finger is the path. Don't get confused. Don't think it's the path. Focus on the goal. Don't be distracted by the finger. It's the moon. No, anything you're using to describe the moon is not the moon. There's nothing but
Yes.
silent consciousness of it.
Yeah. So I want to.
And I want to add something to
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
I think
yeah, yeah.
you know what I hate about conversations like this with you is that
Mm.
you think on a different plane of existence than I do. And, sometimes
You
I have
calling
to
me
think about
crazy?
shit. I have to think about shit and go, okay, maybe my position on this is way wrong, which, I hate admitting I'm wrong in the first place. It
There's
tastes like
no
fucking
there's
poison
no
coming out of my
there's
mouth.
no bigger ego punisher than the podcast because your memories lie to you, but video audio do not. You look
Yeah,
back,
that's right.
you go,
But at least
motherfucker, I said
I'm
that.
open enough to look at the dialogue, because Craner's another one of those guys, right? Craner says stuff I'm like, fuck, I hadn't thought about that. Um, but in this case, they are moving at a faster pace, and they're moving us to a
Yeah.
culmination point. We are
Yes.
obviously moving
Yes.
to a culmination point.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what the fuck that is. It drives me crazy. And I want to go back because you saw
Yeah.
this exchange in the chat. Every time one of these flashbulb events like Epstein or like this treason stuff, or pick your flavor, right? Guys like us get barraged with emails and PMs and everything else. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And one of the things that I'm seeing that I haven't seen before, and maybe you're seeing this too. But fuck that. I know you've seen this because we had this conversation. I'm seeing more and more people asking, "What do I do?"
Yeah.
I hear all this. What do
Yeah.
I do with this? Where
Yeah.
do I go with this? How do I
Yeah.
handle this?
Instead
What
of
is my
chasing
next?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
my next? What
Yeah.
do I do to prepare
Yeah.
for this if
Yeah.
it's coming, right?
Yeah.
And the part that the other thing I'm seeing too, and I don't know if you're seeing this, is I'm seeing a movement towards believing in something, whether that's Christianity, whether that's holistic. There's a variety of different things, and I was just having this conversation um, with somebody else in the chat about Cliff High and some of the other stuff that was barraged over to me in the last couple of days. I'm seeing it that people are seeing this culmination point ahead of them, but they don't know what to do, and they know it's coming. Because
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I think revolution is inevitable at this point. I don't care what the catalyst is, it's inevitable. And you and I are the guys who are going to fight this thing. It won't be the youngers. It'll be us fighting this
No,
and
it'll
leading the
be
way.
us. We have to lead it. That's the nomad generation, Strauss and Howe.
Yeah.
Um, One of the
Wow.
things I
There's
tell
some names
people
I
is,
haven't heard for a while, Strauss.
yeah, so one of the things I tell people is get close to your local community, be of value to your local community. Um, when these things go, everything happens local and small
And personal.
and personal. And so people need to stop paying attention to the national level stuff just a little bit, just to make sure it's not coming to you now. But stop paying attention to international, stop paying attention to national, start paying attention local to small. Get to know who the hell your neighbors really are. Get the hell to know what, the capacities are to feed and house and energy produce yourselves. Secure yourselves locally and small. And that doesn't mean get all prepper and all that other kind of stuff, because that's not my area of expertise. And I will tell you, I lived off the land for 8 years as a kid, very poor and very much like this, like a collapse in a freaking teepee for a couple of years with no floor, and we had no electricity and all that shit. And some days no food. And I'm not gonna lie, now I'm getting close to 60. I kind of miss some of those days. A lot less responsibilities, but it was a hard fucking life. And it's not, you just deal with it when you need to deal with it. But people need to go back getting local and small. They need to stop chasing all this noise, stop chasing all these words, right? Because if and when it goes, and it's going to, now how it goes and all
Doesn't
that, we
matter.
don't know, because the factions are all locked in all out war, and we're not going to know till this is over, and historians look back decades from now and lie about it, right? So get back local and small. Some of us do have to pay attention to the bigger things because of who we are and where we move in the world, and that area of analysis that we're responsible for. Um, that's what I tell people. I don't think that a total collapse is coming. It's possible. It wouldn't be any time immediately soon. It would be some years from now, and it would be after a whole lot of back and forth between the factions just didn't go right at all. The thing that really concerns me right now and is that this whole tokenization of assets is the final locking in of the theft of the commons. Now, it can be undone at some point later on where we just make it, anything, any asset that is reflected in Bitcoin or some other digital token or asset is just invalid here in the United States, and we won't honor it. And we will physically fight if you try to come and confiscate it. I mean, so that's the Achilles heel of all this tokenization of wealth is come and take it, motherfucker. And if
I,
you
I,
want, all the artificial wealth, which is all this artificial fiat created vaporware money, you can have that. Go ahead, you can have it. But this land and these resources and these people, these are ours, and we will fight you for it. Go ahead and send your armies if you can get them across the two oceans, right? Europeans can't, most of the Europeans can't say, anybody on the Eurasian continent can't say that because it's a continent, two continents technically, right? But we can. So
yeah.
they
And
can have, and that's the other thing. People need to realize we can house, feed, produce anything we need with what we have right here in the continental United States and North America. We got retards to the north of us, but a weekend drunken binge party and we can take Canada,
Take all those assets. Yeah.
right? And that might be fun. I mean, Tommy, that's a bar fight we should probably participate in,
Yeah.
right? Mexico, I'm not worried about Mexico. We go out, let's go to war with the cartels. That's the CIA's fucking straight up
I was gonna
CIA
say that's
anyways.
the mob. Yeah, that's the
So let's
CIA,
go
that's
after the mob.
Yeah.
Let's have a mob war. Let's do it. And by the way, most of the Mexicans would be grateful for it anyways. And guess what? They're
Just
in many
strap
ways,
to a
those
choke
motherfuckers
point.
are a lot like Americans. The good ones. And there's a lot of good ones. I was just down there for dinner down in Monterey the other night.
Yeah,
Right?
America is a prepper bug out, but not a cat.
Right?
It is like the country
Right?
itself is oceans, mountains, resources,
Right?
tundra, and then choke point to the south. It's like
Right?
it's a
If
prepper
we
country.
okay, so very good.
Well, I
So
think in a
what
bigger
should we
aspect,
do? Just
bigger
get
aspect.
rid of the people that don't belong here, and we're going to have to
Yeah.
get rid of a lot. That's why they're flooding them into our countries so that we can't be a prepper bug out because we're fighting each other, right? But the honest truth is this: the only assets I care about that we can't let them steal is our country, our resources, and our people. Other than that, it's all fucking artificial.
Yeah.
It's all made up. Go ahead, take it. You can have it.
That's
Good
where I was going
luck.
with ones and zeros in crypto, right? It's made
Yeah,
up.
well,
It's just
there
it's
you
crypto.
go. There
It's
you
like,
go.
and I used this analogy the other day. I want to get back to your point here in just a second,
Yeah.
but just bear with me. I used this analogy the other day. I was talking to my girlfriend's kid. He was like, I want to buy this airplane for this game. I'm like, dude, it's $85 to buy an airplane. It's ones and zeros. You can't touch it. You can't take it anywhere. Once the game's done, you lost $85. What are you going to get out of it?
Pirate.
Just play through, right? Go buy, they want you to buy this stuff because it gives you more stuff, right? That's exactly how they're selling all this. Look, if we do this stable coin thing, which is really greenbacks from the 1860s, according to Martin Armstrong, which I agree with.
Well, no, it's totally what it is. It's to keep the
And
government going.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's to solve the liquidity problem, right? And you could talk at that until the end of time.
Well, I'll leave
But
Tom to do that, and
it's
he
more
will.
of the same smoke and mirrors. Look over here. Obama did everything. It was just Obama. Nobody else in the
Yeah.
intelligence infrastructure. Nobody
Isn't it
else in the
funny?
State
Isn't it
Department.
funny they're trying to burn the one black man? I mean, talk about some racist bullshit.
Dude, who's
I knew
the
somebody
comedian?
was going to go
Who's the
there.
comedian? Zach Galifianakis from The Hangover, and he did an interview, but for a show for Obama, and he goes, "What's it like being the last black president?"
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Shit.
they're playing the card.
The
And
thing I don't understand is if you got just a fraction of black in you, you're black. He could be a white guy, right?
Well,
Do we kick him off the tribe if they got a little? Come on. Anyway, sorry, Steve,
point
you
is,
were
it's all
saying
the distraction
no,
and
all
actually,
distraction. Yeah.
I'm glad
And
you
it's all
brought it up,
bullshit
right?
labels.
it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
Well, yeah,
overcorrections.
yeah.
I want to come back to your point about,
Yeah.
focus locally, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
call
yeah,
it
yeah.
sphere of influence and line of
Yeah,
sight,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because the
yeah.
more people you have, the more you can see. And yeah, stories are embellished, blah, blah, blah at the local level. But the point is you have the local network to be able to fall back on when all this turns to shit. I don't think
Here's
we're that far away from some kind of a collapse. And I say that for a couple of reasons. I say that from, and this is going to sound woo, but our enemy uses astrology and numerology. I've talked about this at nauseum, and lost thousands of viewers because of it. But it's true. Everywhere outside of the Christian world, they use numerology and astrology to predict events and plan events. That's a fact. That's not woo.
well, most of the
And
billionaires I know do the same.
we're seeing that play
Yeah.
out right now numerologically because of, and again, this is not my domain, but the way it's been chipped down to me is we're in this retrograde right now that we haven't been in over 200 years. And now because of the alignment, we're at a rebirth point as a country right now. We're in the same astrological and numerological position that we were in 1773 and through 1776. We're in the same place with the same alignment. And if you buy into some of that, and look, I don't know how much of it I buy into, but there is something to it.
There's no such
And I
thing as
say
woo.
that,
These are all different levels of real and not real. Keep going.
Oh, we're
right,
finding
and
this same thing with
Keep
go
going.
ahead.
anyway, where I'm going with it is that I see a portion of this as illusion, right? It's just fucking
Yeah.
noise. It drives me
Noise.
fucking crazy, right? Like, sir, what am I going to do about this? What are your orders? My orders are sit down, go have a Coke and a smile, and don't do anything stupid and go off the reservation, right? You have to
Yeah,
let
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah,
play
yeah.
out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't go off the reservation, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of that, be prepared for, at a minimum, a couple of weeks. If you can have 2 years worth of food, great, have 2 years worth, but be ready for some kind of a contingency and then you won't be surprised. But the biggest part of this is get your fucking head in the right place and be ready to accept the situation as it develops in front of you, because that is the key to surviving
So
anything, right? And
it,
that's where the public falls short. That's why we're seeing all of that use. Hey, look over here. This guy did everything. Nobody else did anything, right? It's the distraction, but it's more the
get to
emotional
know
charge in it,
your
right?
neighbors. Get to know
Well,
your neighbors because the threat, when it comes, is going to come from your own community.
right. And where I was going with
Either
all of
turning on
this,
you or having bad actors inside or not coming together to stand against outsiders.
yes. And where I was going with this
Mhm.
is that we're in a, and this goes back to the culmination point. We're in a place where that culmination point could be tomorrow or it could be 5 years from now. It's only going to take one event to tip this over. And I mean one
I
event,
think the
one
event already
disclosure.
happened, by the way. I think the
I,
event already happened that set all this on motion. And I
which one
think
do you
it
think
was
it was?
I think it's around the Epstein files. And when people are looking in there attacking Trump for backing, if you listen to what they're saying, that, take Bongino and Patel, whatever his name is, Cash, Crazy
Patel.
Eyes,
Patel.
right? Take those two out. They're functionaries. But, and Bondi is somewhat too, but Bondi's a real attorney and she's really good at fixing problems. Um,
So was Bill Barr.
Yeah, but hopefully there's less raped boys in Pam Bondi's background than fucking Bill Barr's background. That's
Oh,
the other thing that pisses me off, by the way. Everybody's talking, the only thing people talk about the Epstein files is girls. I know for a fact that at least half of those were boys, and nobody fucking ever talks about that.
I've just always
Ever.
I just think
Well,
about
let's
I think
let's
about
let's
Franklin Scandal by Nick Bryan. It's almost exclusively boys.
Oh, I'm not even
BM,
familiar with that.
Franklin
Yeah,
Scandal,
that this
the
is,
Franklin credit scandal,
yeah,
this kind of
yeah.
first
this is
Hmm.
broke
my
out.
domain, right? This human
Yeah,
trafficking, child
yeah,
trafficking.
yeah,
This is my domain. So
yeah.
just give me 2 minutes and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it pisses
solve
me
this real quick.
off, right? And it
Here's the
speaks
thing.
to something very dark. Yeah, yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
what it speaks
Yeah.
to is, and this is the part nobody's talking about. You have, and you talked about this earlier, which the same demographics apply here that applied before when it comes to assessing and believing reality, right? You have a
Uh-huh.
group that can't believe that Epstein really existed. You have a
Yes.
group that doesn't really know what to think, and you have a group that knows for sure that Epstein's not the only island. This is a
Yeah,
bigger,
yeah, yeah,
bigger
yeah, yeah.
system.
It's
Let
an
me go back to his roots
archipelago.
system.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's not just little girls or teen girls. This is little boys, little girls that are raped, tortured, and murdered at the behest of the elite. And this is way deeper than most people think. And most importantly, George Bush Sr. was named by name in the Boys Town scandal in mid
Mm.
80s for having oral sex with two boys at a party.
Nick Bryan, Franklin Scandal.
Yes. And everybody in DC knew it. Everybody in the apparatus, all the way down to the lower agencies, the FDA and some of the others that don't matter. Everybody knew this was going on. For 40 years, they knew this was going on. And everybody that's on the Epstein list is on the Diddy list. So they can't possibly let this out because it'll burn down the whole fucking system. And more
Well, I
importantly,
think it
when
is.
people realize
I think it
what
is
really
coming.
fucking happened there and how
Yeah.
deep this really goes, there won't be a hole deep enough for these motherfuckers to go to.
So I think
Because
it is coming. And I think what's
I
happening
that's
is
where
they're
I was
trying.
going with this. I was
Yeah,
trying
I
not to
think
say
it's.
Epstein
Yeah, well, I did
because
it.
you
It's
set
my
the
fault.
rules.
Yeah, it's my fault. I
A
just don't want
bank
to start with it.
a
Yeah, yeah.
banker
Well,
type.
and Epstein himself is irrelevant at this point. He's dead. He's gone. The function that he filled, the role that he filled. Now, this isn't to diminish the people with harm that he was directly involved in, et cetera. I don't mean that, but he himself is irrelevant. He's but a functionary, a high level functionary in a system,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, um, when I listen to Trump, when I listen to this whole thing, he's intentionally pissing off his base. He's not stupid. If there's one thing that Trump is really good at, it's entertainment and it's connecting with his base. He knows them. He knows his base extraordinarily well. And the way he's communicating these things means that there's other forces and other things at play. And he's saying it in such a way to piss people off so that the people get riled up and make this the point.
Well,
That
I
this
think they did
because
this. Well,
yeah,
he's
go ahead.
created an existential crisis for himself,
Well,
right?
it's not for him, just for him. It's for the whole regime and
I
system.
I disagree with you because and I know where you're going with that, so just bear with me because I know you're going to chime in when I say this. Even though he's pissing off his base, right? He's created a crisis for himself because if he
I don't
doesn't
think,
follow through because of all the attention now, if he doesn't follow through, he'll be the most despised man in American history. If he
yeah,
does follow
yeah,
through, he burns down the system and becomes the most despised man in American history. If he
no.
doesn't do anything,
Hmm.
if he doesn't do anything, revolution. Because this isn't going away. You're
Okay.
right. The narrative and the
Totally,
optics not
totally
going away.
agree.
And
Totally
and
agree.
whether it's intentional or unintentional to me doesn't matter. What matters is something has to come out of this now because there's too many people that are not going to let it go. And
I totally agree. Plus,
please, I know where you're going to
yeah,
go, so
yeah,
just
yeah.
please
Well,
jump in.
maybe you do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, back to Caesar, Julius. Caesar didn't move his legions into Rome, not the city, but into into Italy, into the boot, without the invitations. And then he parked across the Rubicon and didn't move into Rome proper without the invitations. Why? He was ready to do it, and he'd been preparing for 20 years. He needed to know that there was going to be enough of the people, the Roman people, and enough of the leadership in Rome and all the various domains that when he crossed the Rubicon, he would succeed.
And that to me is exact. This goes back to what we were both saying earlier,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a great tie-in for that. It's assuming Trump's doing that and he's setting conditions and shaping so that the public will accept the moves he makes.
And putting things on his timing. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It saying the moves, saying conditions so they'll accept the moves. That's shaping, classic
As a Red
definition of
Caesar,
shaping.
if need be. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The other aspect of this is that by moving to the Obama piece of this and the treason piece of this, he knows all those fucking people are on the same list. They're on the
Yes.
list. They were on the plane. They were at the island,
No,
and
no, no,
there's
no. I want
other
to pause there.
crimes.
I want to pause there. These people weren't all on the list, that list. And by the way, I wouldn't trust the
It's a
list
flight
anyways.
manifest. It doesn't mean anything. It's a
Well,
flight manifest.
okay.
But you get my point, right?
What
They
those
were all
people are, though, is involved in the theft of the commons. They're involved in the financial infrastructure and the decision, the
and the money
business
laundering
and
and
the
all
money
the
laundering.
other
That's the piece
illicit
that
activities.
most of them are
Yes.
involved in.
Yeah.
Maybe 1% of all the people involved in this, maybe up to three, were ever involved in any of the pedophilia stuff, because that's about all it'll work for. It's about the only percentage of a population that's willing to go that far and do stuff that bad. But there's all kinds
I,
of people
I
that will
think
be
you're
disloyal.
underestimating the number of people that were involved in this. I
No, and I
I was
think you're
shocked at
overestimating because they want us all again paying attention to that. There's vastly more people that will lie, cheat, steal, murder.
well
I'll
that's
guarantee you there was more people
I
murdering,
I don't disagree with that. I'm just what I'm
right?
saying to you is I think there's a lot more people that have opted for pedophilia or been co-opted into
Could be,
pedophilia
could
than
be.
we anticipate. Than you're
Could be, but
anticipating.
I don't want to, again, that whole thing was cover for action and status. And what we have to be careful of right now, while we need to deal with that, is we need to undo what was being put in place under that cover for action and
I
status, or
wholeheartedly
we
agree
are
with that.
all done. And when I say done, they will literally kill us off. If they can't get us into the world wars, they will try to kill us off in our own home territories with the terrorists and cartel wars and all this other stuff.
Bio, yes,
Bio, whatever they
pharma,
can do.
man,
Bio's probably
food.
not going to work as well unless they just go total fucking nasty, nasty stuff, right? And bio is actually way harder. And COVID was a test, and it turns out genetic modification doesn't work so well. Why? Because our cells are 4.5 billion years of adapting to shit, right? Right down to the genetic code. Why does epigenetics turn genes on and off? Right? Depending on environmentals. Well, because there's a secondary intelligence system in our cells that goes back billions of years that can decide, yeah, we're not going to play that gene's fucking game right
Yeah,
now.
it's
We're
like
going to
trying
turn that
it's like
fucker
trying to
off.
it's like trying to pull something on your dad, but instead of your dad, imagine 4 billion years of wisdom. It's like
Yeah.
you fucking
Yeah.
idiot. You don't think I know that you put
Yeah.
alcohol, you put vodka in a water bottle, you think you're a genius? You fucking retard. It's that times a trillion.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're
Exactly.
right. They will find some way to kill us off if
Yeah,
they,
and it'll
and
be a
if they're,
combination. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if they
Yeah.
think the system's burning down and they're losing control, they'll,
Well,
they'll,
no, no, no. They
they'll,
want the system to burn down. They just don't want you to take them and root them out and burn them down.
that's
They
my
don't
point.
want
If
us
they're
taking the
losing
time and energy of
control,
thinking about who they are. Well, no, because they'll skedaddle if they get the chance.
well,
So,
I know that, but
yeah,
you get my point, right? If they
yeah.
think that they're in danger, they will burn the
They're in
system down
danger. That's
around
the
them.
right way that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah,
And
that's a
by the
better way
way,
to say it.
they want it to burn down anyways. They just want it to be a controlled burn where they get to enjoy as much of it. They can rape and pillage as much as they want. Because what are these people? These are passive aggressive Vikings.
I was going to say
They
Midwest
want to
passive
go on
aggressive,
raiding
but that's,
season. They want to rape and pillage and steal everything, but they're just, I don't want to, they're passive aggressive. They're estrogens. They're predators, just not in the good kind of fuck it, let's just war bride bitches.
that's a good way to say it.
Fucking passive aggressive Vikings. There's no Valkyrie coming from these motherfuckers. Yeah.
But
I,
I mean, you're spot on, right? Is that they're this, where I was, where I want to get back to is I think the slow burn is reaching, it's been speeded up because of precipitation and precipitating
well,
events,
as
which
you
they
know,
lose
man,
control of.
as you know, everything right before the invasion, everything accelerates. Right? So right before the actual conflict, the actual shooting, force on force stuff happens, everything accelerates. And it's like a post I did here recently. It's because nobody wants to move first because we don't know exactly who's going to win. And history and whoever the winner is on the other side is going to won't go for retribution. So you don't, or both sides fail and the people come and tear shit down. So you don't want to be the one who's guilty for doing it. So nobody wants to move first, but nobody who's actually in a real fight can afford to move second because you've given the advantage to the one who gets to choose the battle on their time and place
They take the initiative. Yeah.
and take the initiative. So everything accelerates right before because one side's trying to, the responsible side's trying to keep it from happening at all. And the resentful side are trying to force the responsibles into doing something that can be then the whole thing can be blamed on them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
And
you want a
but
perfect example, Russia crossing the border into Ukraine. It's exactly that. We forced, we pressed, we pressed, we pressed, we pressed, we pressed until Russia finally said, okay, we have to go. It's now or we're done.
and
It's either now or they move into Russia and then we fight them in Russian territory.
but the way I see this playing out, though, and I'm trying to stay on this thread, is the reason why I'm trying to stay on this thread
Mhm.
is, again, back to the astrological stuff that I did never get to finish, is that it the astrological and numerological stuff is talking about a culmination point where there's a death and a rebirth. That's the cycle that we're in right now, death and rebirth, where things are being played back, things are being unwound, things are being that have been done are being undone. And we saw this play out before. It played out just before World War II, played out after World War II. And we're in that same window. And that's why I say I don't think it's 10 years from now, but it could be. I think it's closer. We're in a closer fight than that because there's too many other systems right now that are teetering on the edge. And it's only going to take a nudge for those systems to fail. And you know as well as I do, you plan a complex operation, it only takes one chink in the armor for the whole thing to go sideways. I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
quickly.
Well,
And
they
that's where I
have to
see this
move. Yeah.
going. I see
Yeah.
this going like and it'll be unexpected by all of us, right? We'll look, we're watching this saying, okay, this is an indicator, this is an indicator, but then that they get the nudge and they lose control, and here we are, right?
So here's why I think it happens in the next, it's already started, right? That's already started, but everything accelerates. I think the real knockdown, drag out, talking about, the omens and all of that, where we're slitting guts. So, eviscerating dudes so we can read their guts to get the omens. I don't think we're quite there yet. Clay Martin will tell us, I think, when we get there, right? Coming out of one of his sessions.
Yeah, that's
But, we're not to the reading the omens and the entrails of our enemies just yet. Uh, I think we're heading there more rapidly than we think, to your point. Um, I believe that this all goes really hard within the next 3 to 5 years at the latest, very much for what you're articulating, maybe the alignment stuff and all of that. Um, and actually, as someone with pretty solid, not a physicist, but a pretty solid background in physics and electrical engineering, et cetera, I can't discredit all of that. Maybe not the manipulative stuff on top, but I think this all goes in the next few years for one very specific reason, and that is that the boomers are hard aging out. And this is a boomer fight. This whole thing was, their whole generation was set up around this, and all this stuff was done to them too. I'm not blaming boomers, right? But they are the generation that is the energy and force behind this conflict. And they're aging hard out, performance-wise, capacities, retirement. Boomers are a lot of boomers are actually starting to wake up to, holy shit, what, right?
yeah. Wait,
And the
what?
problem, the problem that the resentfuls have is that Gen Xers fucking hate them. And as much as they're trying to completely ignore us and skip over to the millennials, which is in all the dialogue, it's like it's like as much as they are trying to skip past Gen X to go straight to the millennials, they think they can own and control, or the Zoomers they can intimidate. Sorry, but steadily over the next 5 to 8 years, Gen Xers are more and more. What just happened with the Trump presidency, power was transitioned to Gen X and older millennials pretty heavily. Look at the people around him. And the problem is that the boomers and a few silent still around that, are driving all this realize we hate their fucking Gen X, despises them, hates their guts, doesn't want a single fucking bit about this. And oh, by the way, we've proven this a couple times. We can actually put down the bottle, sober up for a few days, organize, and go to war in very complex ways. And we watched them build the world that they created. We watched it from the time we were little kids. We
Yep.
know it. We understand it. We lived in the old world. And we watched this whole thing. We know how to take it down. We know how to break it
Well,
the right way.
I've said, yeah,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
said this before, and that's a very salient point. The one thing that, and I'm going to go farther than the boomers, but the boomers are the ones that are
Well, and I
loudest.
said the silent too. Yeah, because they were boomers were created, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah.
that whole generation. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Who
generation
gave
of
him
that's
all the
mine.
who
That's
gave him all the
fucking
drugs,
mine.
right? Who gave him all the drugs? And who fed all that stuff into him and why?
Yeah, CIA. Yeah,
Yeah,
intelligence
the power
agencies.
structure after World War II. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Weird scenes inside the canyon, Dave McGowan.
one of the salient points, though, that you made that I firmly agree with
Mm.
is you can take down a system without having to fire bullets. And the Gen Xers know how to do that because they're very adept at technology. We were immigrants to technology, they were immersed in it,
Yeah,
and now they know it.
yeah.
And I'll say this from some of the guys that I work with. I work with some very talented people that know ingenious ways to make things stop working and never work again.
I've
And
been
you
in,
don't have to fire a shot to do it.
I'm an older Xer. I've been doing software and tech, very sophisticated, working in electrical engineering and software stuff and fintech and telecommunications. The two tech companies I built were both telecom tech companies. I've built data centers. right? I've played in all these spaces. Um, and I, more importantly, I know the guys that are really good at the things, right? So I'm not saying I'm the really good guy at that, but I understand it enough,
You know where I'm
very
going with it, though.
where all their
Yeah.
vulnerabilities are, and I'm an Xer. So it's like, yeah, I know how to I know how to disable that, and I don't have to blow everything up,
Yeah.
right?
But that's what we're going to see, right?
I
That could be the
that's
nudge.
what
It could be
happens
that nudge
is, and this is this overconfidence and tokenization of things. Guess what? I hate to tell you this, kids, you younger kids that are they're making the zealots for all the tokenization. I hate to tell you this, kids, but the machine can be turned off
without the switch.
without the switch. Or I got the guy's family who's got the control of the switch,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So the
And I see
problem
that.
is,
That's where I
is
see it playing out, though. Is in
yes.
that.
Now there will be blood and there will be this and that here and there, but I
That's not how
agree
it's
with
going to
you.
start. It's not going
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
start
No,
kinetic.
no,
And
no.
and
Well,
and this is
it'll
it. May
it'll
be okay. Let's say
well,
maybe.
cartel stuff, cartel stuff. My sense is they are going to use the cartels. They will use the terrorists. They are going to do that at some point, though. Like, just look at the reaction to the Sarah Adams stuff and whoever that other lady was that was on Sean Ryan's show. And now just look at the general reaction to
Oh,
Sean
Sarah
Ryan
Adams.
overall, right? Is people are like, if that happens on American shores, it's our own fucking government. So, well,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not the
predictive
government. It's
programming,
our
right?
own intelligence fucking communities. The cartels move. It's our own intelligence community. People, a lot of people get it. Who cares about the normies, right? But the ones who know how to fight, who know how to do all these sophisticated things, they get it. And yeah, I got friends, the guys that really kind of burn my butt, but I get it. They're still in the work. They're still on certain payrolls and they're involved in certain information operations. And I just want to, but I get it.
I
They're
know.
doing their
I know.
job.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
not
I'm right
gonna,
there with you.
right?
I got people still in the system. Just drives me fucking nuts. Like, why
Yeah,
aren't you asking the question? But
yeah,
and this will be probably a good place for us
yeah.
to to wrap this up. I think that the catalyst that we're going to see is not going to be a kinetic catalyst. It may be, but I think that's a very small likelihood. I think the likelihood for the nudge to send the system into chaos is going to come from a Gen Xer that is somebody in the system that knows how to turn things off without any attribution or what we call repudiation. And that's, or it could be a foreign actor that does it, a nation state.
I
You
think
never know.
foreigners are going to stay out of this. They don't want that. You don't give the causes belli that's they're screaming for.
I don't disagree either, but it could be,
So
right? There's a possible, small possibility,
I
but it's
think
there.
personally, I think I don't know that it's that because unfortunately, that's your too many of your tech bros and they got their own cult and their own belief system. And I don't talk about the transhumanists, right? But tech bros are just in their own universe. Um, I personally think it's going to come down to some states' rights issues, and it's going to be something similar to, and it's going to happen around finance and economics, et cetera. And it will be a conflict between states themselves and the states and the federal government, and it'll start somewhere in the legal system, more than likely. And it'll most likely have to do with the removal of judges that are non US born, foreign activist judges, of which we've hundreds across this country. And it'll be the move to reset the judiciary that'll kick it off.
Hmm. I hadn't thought about that perspective. I hadn't even been looking at it. That's a
Have to.
very interesting perspective.
We are a
Because I
constitutional
assumed
republic, and the judiciary,
you realize that
Congress.
80% of the population doesn't know what the fuck that means.
Yeah, well,
80% of the
that's,
population hasn't even read the Constitution, right? But I
yeah,
points well made that I didn't consider that the lawfare aspect of this and resetting the constitutionality of the judiciary would drive this kind of a conflict. But that's a
it's
very
what
valid
it's what
point.
caused the English Civil War. It's what caused the U.S. Revolution, the colonial revolution, both of which were attempts to and it's what caused the Magna Carta to come into being, right? back in the 1200s. It's what Alfred the Great set
You
in
know, I
motion.
I don't want to admit to myself that fucking lawyers are going to start the next revolution. That really gets under my skin because I hate
It
lawyers.
it won't be lawyers. Well, lawyers will be involved, but um, it will be more than likely what it'll be is Department of Justice or state level related movements against activist judges who are, and again, look at what Treasury Secretary or Undersecretary, not Bissett, the other gentleman, I can't remember his name, said about the Epstein files basically being irrelevant because they have all the FinCEN data. Treasury has the FinCEN data. So, and they do. FinCEN knows all. People really need to understand. If you want to think be scary, scary force in the United States, it's Treasury and it's FinCEN. Um,
Yeah, know where the money went, follow the money,
where who every single
tells you everything.
DTCC and FinCEN are two of the scariest things on earth. Point being is this: I suspect what it'll be is movement against these activist judges to remove them is what will kick things off because
That's not too far away. That's not that
it's
far
already
away.
happening. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's the next step because they're losing. They're probably gonna, and I'll tell you the one I think's two of them
Do you
that
realize
I
that when this happens, this is going to confirm your Red Caesar
yes,
theory about Trump? And
yes,
if it
yes.
doesn't happen, it's going to prove
It's
the other
what
side.
Putin had to do
Yeah,
early
that's why I
on. It's
say
what Xi had to do early on. It's what the Ayatollah had to do early. So I suspect two right now are at top of that list, and they're both black women.
yeah.
Supreme Court and Letitia James in New York, both of which one is there through the auto pen stuff. That's what the auto pen stuff's really all about, aside from all the other things. But that's the one it's really about because if they could use the auto pen to put a Supreme Court justice on the Supreme Court,
You can use it for anything.
you could use it for anything. But more importantly,
Mhm.
that's power. That is massive, massive power. And there was other 200 judges that were also placed.
I thought it was 250, but
Might be. I
it's
don't know that.
the
Yeah, I
number
don't.
doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number. I know it's over 200.
Yeah, it was
The
way
other
over
one
200.
is Letitia James, who's been taking monies from foreign parties, all going through Brooklyn, right? So my suspicion is that it's going to be this move. What kicks it off is going after reset properly, constitutionally correct, legally correct, going after resetting the judiciary because in the entire history of the United States, there's only been 13 justices that have been removed.
And
13
when were some of
over
them
all over
removed?
the last, and the last one was probably 80, 90 years ago.
Yeah, there was a specific precedent for when judges were removed that I'm thinking through, and we're right on that precipice too. Yeah, it's just like if you look at what Lincoln did during the Civil War, we're in the very same. And people
That's
criticize Lincoln
exactly,
for his
yeah,
for his
yeah,
decisions,
yeah,
but the decisions he made were based on the fact that he was prosecuting a war, right? And there's decisions you make at the time, there's decisions you make basically on strategic motivation, and then there's decisions you make on the fly because you have to make those decisions, right? This was one of those decisions of the time that he made, right? Because this is the time
I
period
wasn't
we're in.
there.
We're in a
Yeah,
war. It's right, right.
I
And
wasn't there.
I think some of what we're seeing right now is strategic and decisions of the time. Like
Yes,
some of these federal judges absolutely have to go. Like Supreme Court in Washington, making up their own laws, legislating from the bench, they have to go. And the same
yeah,
thing with California, Oregon. Take your pick of a blue state; they're all doing the same thing. That
yeah.
has to come to light. I just didn't think
And I
that
think
that
it's
would
going to
be a
take a
cat.
couple.
I didn't look at that as a catalyst. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, it is the catalyst.
I
It's
think that's very
exactly
interesting.
what caused the revolution. It's exactly what caused the English Civil War. It's exactly what caused the Baronial War and all of the great civilization shaping events in the English speaking peoples all happened over this same issue. Corrupt judges that had to get removed, but but people, a subset of the societies had immense power because of their control of those judges. And that subset of immense power went to war with the rest because their judges were being removed
I
for
still
for
hear lawyers.
cause.
I still have a lawyer. That's why I still hear. I know where you're going with that. Still have fucking lawyers. Drives me crazy.
Well, again,
But your
the
point's
entire
well made.
English the English civilization was created by a code of laws, which became the
Right.
common law. So
Don't say
either we
maritime law or
become
I'm jumping
something
out a window. You say maritime law, I'm throwing myself out a window.
either we
Turning
become
up with that
something
shit too.
fundamentally different than we've been, or we restore the English civilization, and that is common law. And to do that, you can fight on the battlefield all you want, but if you don't reset the judiciary to neutrality at least, or as close to neutral as you can get, then you don't have common law. And you don't have a civil, then your civilization's gone.
That is
So we
very
could win
interesting.
every battle we could go to armies on armies and still lose everything, which is what they want, by the way, right? They want us all
Yeah.
shooting each other up. So I suspect that's what's going to happen. I pay attention to judiciary and what's happening there. There's a great channel, Robert Govea. Um, if you
I
could have
just
him
look at
on, Tommy,
I
be
just
a
look at the
great.
fact there's so many people that are entrenched in their belief systems to the point
Totally
where
agree, but
they're militants, where
they're
it's
most of these people won't fight, and if they do, they're not very good at it.
I'm not talking
When
about the kinetic. I'm talking about the wild card that has a belief system that's beyond because there's and this goes back to what Sarah Adams was talking about. That's why I'm looking at it from this perspective, right? When you the dick waving contest between the elite and who's in place and who owns who, that's that's human history for 1,000 years. I'm looking at in this current space that we're in, this current time period we're in, with the level of complexity and the level of technology we have, there are people that are empowered that don't realize they're empowered, and only takes one or two of those people to go off the reservation. They can make some very, very trivial changes in a system that will literally send shockwaves to the entire planet. That's and I see those people more of a threat than the measured responses from the elite, because the elite, like you say, the Praetorians, the what disgruntled, is that the word you use?
Resentfuls,
The
yeah,
resentfuls. God, I gotta
uh,
shamelessly use that. That's fantastic. Anyway, the resentfuls, everything they do is a measured response, right? We've seen over the past 5 years this accelerated response that's outside of their playbook. And I think that's due to some of the complexity. Because of the complexity, I've seen this more and more, move towards this level of uncertainty. And maybe you're right. Maybe this is all certainty that I see as uncertainty, that's being controlled.
we're
Could
seeing.
two things can be true at once.
To your point, I fundamentally agree. But the event you're talking about happened in the 1960s with the assassination of both Kennedys. That was the spark will change the entire world. Getting into a position where that finally and we've been fighting this out and all this stuff ever since. The culmination event of that is in our lifetime.
I
And
agree.
that culmination phase is somewhere here and then begins the really hard part, like looking at the pen, the auto pen stuff and what's going on. And that's another thing, my Epstein, all this other stuff's thrown out there as a distraction from this, right? The ones who did the auto pen thing where they put in maybe a Supreme Court justice and all these other federal judges in addition to all these other placements, et cetera. But those are the ones that matter because they stick. And that's a lifetime appointment. Some of those are lifetime. Um, if the auto pen thing gets to be dealt with and it's a legal thing and it's going to take at least 2 years to get through that, and I think it will get done because it was straight up legit, total illegal use for thousands upon thousands, millions of actual signatures is what they're saying.
All the legislation,
All of
all
it.
of the
All of
appointments,
it. The
all the
funding for
executive
the war, for
orders.
the
Yeah,
conflicts, the
everything. Yeah.
AUMF, yeah, right. All of it. But the ones that really matter is the judiciary. It's going to take a couple of years to get through the legal process just around the auto pen itself. I think we will get through that if they don't get us into some other, slitting each other's throats before, which is what they will do, and they will try to do that so they don't lose this power, and we don't put rules in place to prevent this abuse of power again. But that's the trick. Uh, that's the casus belli for both sides behind the fight. And it'll take a couple years to, legally go through the process because these are all, like you said, fucking lawyers. But I hate to tell you this, this country was built by fucking lawyers, right?
Why it's so fucked up.
Yeah.
Exactly why
So,
it's fucked up.
um, that's what I suspect. So I don't think, in addition to the boomer thing and the Gen X thing, et cetera, I don't think we get into the place where they start removing judges or they're going to be able to remove judges for a couple years just because of the legal process. The thing that I don't know is if they will move hard against us to prevent that before we even get to that point, right?
I think they will.
I think they kind of have to.
Yeah, that's why I say the timeline's
So
been
we've got like a
accelerated.
2 to 3 year window now before, and I do think it goes hot, man. But I don't think it goes army on army and all that. It's probably more like
Asymmetric.
a totally asymmetric, and then maybe does kind of shape up like the Spanish Civil War at some point.
I would agree with that. I don't see this going army on army either because
No,
there's no armies and nobody wants to serve in an
and this
army.
is a huge fucking country. I mean, it's
Yeah,
huge, and you get out here in the West, and we've got states bigger than most countries in Europe.
yeah. You're in you're in one of them. That's for
I'm in
sure.
one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tommy, I gotta bounce. I'm already 40 minutes past where I should have
I
been.
wasn't gonna
But
say.
that's how it goes every time I
I was
get
gonna
on
let you keep
a
going. I was
show
like,
with you.
I don't want to. I didn't want to. Every once in a while, people be like, "I got an hour," and then I realize, like, as I like remind them at an hour point, it kind of seems like I'm pushing them off, and I don't
Well,
give
I
a
think
fuck. So I was like, "Yeah, just let you run. I don't care."
we could spar like for 2 hours and just scratch the surface of all the stuff. Because
Yeah.
remember, we're talking all the
Yeah.
time, right? There's a room full of guys that are, for the most part, we agree on stuff, but not on everything, and that's the best part of it. As if I would hope out of this conversation, your audience gets two things. One, that we don't agree on everything, and just because we may see things differently, the whole point of the conversation is start looking at this stuff critically. Because I hadn't looked at the legal
Well,
aspect
it's
at all. It
dialogue
wasn't even in
and
my wheelhouse,
it's
right?
dialogue and meaningful friction. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're just circle
words.
jerking each other, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
words.
people are always like, "Man, that was a real bad." I'm like, "No, it wasn't. It's just people disagreeing. They don't fucking."
Well, I don't mind. I've been wildly wrong about some of my other predictions, right?
uh,
And that's why I'm out of that game now because it just when I see something developing, then they throw another wild card in there that keeps everybody in the slow burn, and I hadn't anticipated it. So
I mean,
I just
Yeah.
only thing I've ever done consistently correctly is inhale and exhale. Everything else in my life has just been fucked. I have no idea what's going on.
yeah,
Thank God for
no,
autonomic
it's
nervous system.
I know it's not even me.
I
It's not even
yeah, I
me.
appreciate you guys doing this today because when
Yeah,
you asked
Yeah.
me about it, I'm like, I'm not really in to go over this guy, but Ian and I think we could have a good conversation because there's a lot going on. We both see.
Appreciate
So
it.
yeah. It's just
yeah,
Helps me
good
think
stuff, man.
through. And yeah, so I think right now people need to not pay attention to details, but do pay attention to themes, thematics, because we're not in the state. One, we have fuck all we can do about the details. That shit's way above our pay grade,
Yeah,
right? But we do need to pay attention to thematics because it will tell us where we are and that'll tell us how dangerous things are for us in our own life and our own place immediately.
yeah. Filter out the noise, focus on the signal.
we'll wrap it up
Wholeheartedly
with
agree.
that. This will be up tomorrow. I'll text it to you guys. Should be up at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. You guys can go to the
Cool.
description. You can find the links to all their shit and all that, whatever the fucking. Um, yeah, we'll do it again.
All right.
Steven's always just so taken aback by my professional demeanor. Um, but yeah, it'll be up tomorrow. It'll be great. Let's do another one. And yeah, gentlemen, thank you both for your time.
Talk to you guys later.
Take care. Thanks,
Thank you so
brothers.
much,
Bye bye.
everybody. God